Welcome to Roundhouse Roulette, a Walker, Texas Ranger podcast. Thanks for joining us as we recap and review one of the 200 existing Walker, Texas Ranger episodes randomly selected by Roundhouse Roulette. I'm Evan Dalton, here with my brother Adam.
What's going on?
And early days internet web hacker, Mr. Bob Leahy.
Hey. Long time no see, guys.
Thanks for joining us as we maybe take a little trip down in the internet time machine. Of course, that means today we're going to be recapping and reviewing Season 7, Episode 17, LIVEGIRLS.NOW. In which Walker and Trevette have to take down the seedy underbelly of the World Wide Web.
Not safe for work, guys. Not safe for work.
Circa 1999.
Yeah. Well, but, before we double click on the Prodigy icon and wait for our dial-up to log us right onto the internet, join us as we pull up a seat at CD's Bar and Grill.
Man, well, great to see you guys here. We've had a little bit of a break from recording the podcast. We have one in the can that hasn't come out yet, but it's coming out soon. So you'll probably be hearing this a little down the line, but we've all had a lot going on. But Bob, you went through a lot of stuff recently. Had a big health thing happen that you've been working through, and we're glad you're back here for the podcast, really,
Yeah, it really bought us some time. On the recording, but I did have a bit of a stroke this summer, which is an odd thing for someone my age, but been recovering. Did some inpatient rehab and learned how to walk again. That was pretty fun. And
man,
things are getting better.
Yeah, you sent us a picture from the hospital of you repping the podcast on your water bottle in the
Got a lot of questions about that. Not really. No one asked.
But I was going to say, did you convert any nurses over to the podcast?
No, not one.
Okay.
No,
you were going through some other stuff.
Yeah,
you had other things to think about. Yeah. No, man. Well, we're just glad you're back and ready to rock, man. I mean, you went through a lot, and just from me seeing it seemed like you've come a long way, man. So we knew you would do it because you're the man.
Yeah, there really wasn't any doubt, I wouldn't think.
There wasn't for me. All right.
Well, I mean, it's just a steady diet of C-Force water, really, right?
Yeah. I mean, if anyone's listening from C-Force, it might have cured me.
It was on a slow drip.
I can't say that. Yeah, I was on an IV.
These statements have not been approved by the Food and Drug Administration.
Oh my gosh. Well, one thing you had to do was kind of, while you're going through your rehab and stuff, you couldn't have beer. But now, man, I think we're ready to crack a beer to cheers Bob getting back in action, man.
Yeah,
you're ready to rock.
It's a blood thinner. It's fine.
The beer is?
Yeah, it actually helps prevent strokes. Also not true. Do not.
From the name, it doesn't really sound like this one's particularly thin. This one's a juice machine from Treehouse Brewing Company.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing thin about this one.
Yeah. This one uses Magnum, Columbus, Amarillo, Citra, and Galaxy with unapologetic flavors of mango, creamy orange sorbet, papaya, and passion fruit with a wave after wave of juicy hop flavor. In spite of the intensity, it's pillowy soft and drinks like a true pleasure. The embodiment of the Treehouse ideal of hoppy beer, never abrasive or harsh.
Is there more? Are they going to keep going on about this?
To the right of it, there's a little
stop. Just stop. Just stop. Let's crack these things.
Okay. Ooh. I think it started eating through the can. The can feels really thin.
Yeah, these beers were not meant to withstand the delay that the medical issues put into this podcast. So
I'm not going to lie. It looks a lot like when I was brewing my own cider during the pandemic.
All right. I dig it.
It's still good.
It does. It's very fruity, very citrusy.
Does it take you to a higher place?
It does. I feel like the robot on the can here, he looks like a 60s robot, except in his helmet, he has a bunch of fruit. So he's a fruity robot.
Well, Adam, since it's been so long, I mean, I can imagine the mailbag is just overflowing with.
Yeah, let's jump into the news here. Friend of podcast, Kevin Wallach, sent us this headline a few months ago. Chuck Norris delivers a top kick to CBS in Walker Texas Ranger profits battle. All right, so this article in Deadline came out July 25th, 2023. Evan, let's dig in here.
Well, yeah, it looks like he sued CBS for like $30 million.
Yeah, they're like, CBS is unlikely to be uttering the words "thank you, Chuck Norris" anytime soon after handing over some Walker Texas Ranger dough to the octogenarian action star.
That's a little rough, don't you think? We don't have to point out that he's an octogenarian.
Yeah, that was you don't want to mess around with Chuck Norris. Deadline, come on. More than 5 years after Norris sued the network in the studio for more than $30 million over profits from the 8 seasons plus, lawyers and spokespeople for both sides say the party have resolved the dispute.
Boy, listen to the law firm that's representing him. The law firm is Bird, Morella, Boxer, Wolpert, Nassim, Drooks, Linsenberg, and Rowe. Those are also the names of hops used in beer at Treehouse. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, you don't want to. They should have just really just been like, dude, Chuck Norris, just take the money. We're not going to mess with you, right?
I think that's probably what happened, right?
That sounds like. Well, it took them 5 years to come to that realization, but maybe when
the lawyers were working through their stuff, and then Chuck got on the phone and said, "Listen, I'm going to come over there," and they said, "We'll give you the money."
All I'll say is, those lawyers, they probably were like going to the car at night and they saw like a bald eagle just trailing them. You know what I mean? And
or at least a van with a bald eagle airbrushed on
it. Yeah, more increasingly every day until for the last 5 years, they're like, okay, all right, just stop, just call them off. And and so they settled. Yeah, you don't want to get into a thing with Chuck Norris, and good for him for standing up for what he's due. We actually had someone email us, Jeff Watrick, and I'm going to bring his email up because it deals with a Walker, Texas lawyer. And Evan, you want to read this email?
It says, subject, Walker, Texas lawyer. Message. Hi, guys. Just wanted to make you aware of a Houston law firm branded as Walker, Texas lawyer. I was hoping you guys could assess if this lawyer has the requisite wooden acting chops, paternalistic racism, and roundhouse kicking ability to legitimately use the Walker, Texas blank naming convention. Thanks, Jeff. He also has included the link to Walker, Texas lawyer.com.
Let's check this out.
Yeah, so let's see.
We give you personal attention. We put the personal in personal injury. You call us, you get to talk to your lawyer. You don't get put off or sent down the line or put on hold or forgotten. You'll get to talk to me most of the time, if not all the time. I'm there to...
I answer the phone.
Put you away or put you off.
But wait. But they don't even say his name. So he's like, and most of the time I'll help you out, but there will be some times when you don't talk to me at all. But most of the time, I'm the guy that's here for you most of the time.
So this is the guy, like every part of the country, I assume, has their own like regional ambulance chasers.
Right.
Like we have, remember Jim Sokolov? Or
yeah. And we talked about him on a
Feinstein,
previous podcast because one of the actors in Walker was actually in one of his ads.
That's
1-800-WIN-WIN-1.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh man.
Man, I don't know. We have to answer Jeff.
We deal in fine details here, and just to clarify, Jeff, it appears on the Walker Texas Lawyer website that he does not actually use the Walker, Texas blank naming convention.
Ooh,
he does not use the comma.
Walker,
so on a
comma.
technicality, I think he gets off. And he gets off for, because he's not really, I don't think he's got even a green belt. Just saying.
All right. So guys, final thoughts for Jeff.
What was the question? Do we think this is legit?
I think he skates free on a technicality.
Yeah, I think he's playing with fire and he's treading on thin ice.
and my take is I really I was a little disappointed by the video. I was hoping for a little more Better Call Saul flash.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't there. So do better, Walker, Texas lawyer. The guys that filmed John and I singing to Chuck Norris had me on their podcast. The Spa Guy and Globetrotting with Trey are the two YouTubers. And so I'll share a link to that. But we talked about everything Walker, Texas Ranger, and how we were, all there to meet Chuck and whatever. But we also talked about the song itself. The Warblers, we got it out there. We released our version of the Walker, Texas Ranger theme song. So it's on Spotify. It's wherever you listen to music. So we're talking about that on this podcast. Yeah, the podcast is Wishing Cotton Was a Monkey with Spa Guy and Trey. So if you're on YouTube, check it out. And we talk everything Walker and whatnot, and meeting Chuck Norris and singing the theme song to him. And they had a bunch of Chuck Norris stories, and they do a bunch of stuff with Elvis as well. So that's it for the news here. Let's move on to the mailbag. And I'm considering comments on our website mailbag. Is that fair, Bob?
Yeah.
So this first comment comes from friend of pod Cisco. I'm thinking from the Talented Slackers podcast. And it's for our podcast interview with Ara Tomasian on remastering Walker for HD. Cisco says, digging this pod, I nerd out on this type of content. And we may have some more interviews coming up here shortly, Cisco. So thanks for hanging in there. This next comment comes on our page. It's a blog post, The Music of Chuck Norris's Walker, Texas Ranger. So we've got a bunch of different songs that have been on the show and whatever. Evan, you want to take this one from Big Jeff?
Looks like Big Jeff maybe went on a bender and listened to a lot of
a podcast of Roundhouse Roulette,
or decided to explore our website because he posted some comments.
Let's see what Big Jeff has to say here.
Big Jeff says, and I assume he's talking about the Walker Texas Ranger theme, though I'm not entirely sure. But he says, hottest mix.
Oh, yeah, with a new episode coming up. Yeah.
I like to put it on, crank the heat so I feel like I'm in Texas, pour a beer, close my eyes, and drift back to the mid-1990s Saturdays when a new episode came on.
Nice.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So
I think Big Jeff cranked the heat and drank a few too many beers because he ended up on the pilot episode page and commented that he came there looking for a Speedo screenshot.
Sad face.
Disappointed face.
Yeah, disappointed face. Yeah, because we do talk about, the part of in the pilot episode, One Riot, One Ranger, that's their intro of Trevette, is him coming out of the pool like Poseidon is how the script described it. And he's in the weirdest Speedo ever. And yeah, I wasn't going to, dude, Jeff, I'm not going to be, providing you with your Speedo porn, dude. There's plenty of that online. All right.
Maybe not with Trevette, though.
I mean, not with Clarence Gilliard, probably. And I get it. Jeff. I get it, man. We've got a comment from Jeff Hartman on our episode page for Swan Song, which is the one where Walker fights a cannibal. What does he say there?
Yeah, he said, I was expecting this episode to be the lowest rank because it's truly bewildering. Why is he stronger than a bear? Why does the bear then save his life? Why does the criminal guy only grunt? How is it he couldn't find a way down the mountain in 8 years when Walker made it up in like a day? All good points. Not gonna lie. I don't know if we actually even talked about those points. But
let me answer all these questions by just saying it's an episode of Walker, Texas Ranger.
Yeah, there it is.
And Jeff, that was why the episode was great. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
Okay.
To answer, Jeffrey, your points are well taken, but I think also moot because they're referring to an episode of Walker, Texas Ranger, where most of them have bits of ridiculousness. This one seemed to have a lot.
Yeah, it seems like he's been jumping around, listening to a bunch of Roundhouse Roulette podcasts, and it sounds like he made it to some other ones, but he left some comments on our very first podcast, The Guardians. It starred Patrick Swayze's brother, and Jeffrey commented, Don Swayze is the finest actor of a generation.
You might be right. I don't know.
He might be right. I don't know if he's right or wrong, but
yeah, I'm not going to say no.
That's a hot take, and I mean, it leads me to believe that Jeffrey might be related to the Swayzes, but
he might be in the Swayze camp. Yeah.
We also got a few emails here, and I just want to jump into those. We got a message here from Peter, and he said, Adam, I saw the video of you guys playing the roundhousing, peacekeeping, food bucket hawking man himself.
Food bucket hawking.
I can't believe Bob and Evan don't follow the Tennessee Warblers.
Of course we do.
Yeah, well, look. Bob follows the Tennessee Warblers, Peter. Evan doesn't have Instagram, and he is like a social media ghost, which I respect, because he has no aspirations to do any small business on his own. So, Peter, he goes by Big Dog, and, kind of reminds me of, Trevette calls CD Big Dog, does he not?
He does. It's true. It's correct.
So shout out to Big Dog.
Yeah.
So yeah, if anyone out there wants to help support the podcast, one of the best ways you can do that is checking out our website and looking at our we've got an Etsy shop with a bunch of weird stuff that Adam sells related to Chuck Norris. Most importantly, Roundhouse Roulette swag, but you can also find vintage action figures, right? And we'd like to send a quick shout out to all the people and places that have ordered Chuck Norris action figures. That includes Erica out in Altoona, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Thanks also go out to Corey in Joliet, Illinois.
Joliet Jake.
Blues Brothers territory.
Joliet Jake.
Yeah, of course. And also, this might be our first international shipment. So Chuck Norris wandered off to Sweden. Thank you, Jessica. Now, did you send a Chuck Norris with particularly blonde hair?
It was a blonde figure, yeah. Another way that people can help us out is if you leave a review on Apple, iTunes, or podcasts, whatever it's called now. It's really the best way to help the algorithms for people to, find the cast. And the last time that happened was in 2022. And I was really hoping for someone to leave one in 2023. And we finally got somebody. Their name on iTunes is Vandy Fitness, which leads me to believe that they're a Nashville resident here. But what do they say, Bob?
Walker is the best person in the whole wide world. Not so much a review of us, of Walker. But either way, we'll take it.
Should we tell Vandy Fitness that Walker, Texas Ranger, isn't a real person?
I mean, I don't want to. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to burst the bubble on that,
Okay.
Thank you, Vandy Fitness, for breaking our dry spell of having a review with a comment on Apple iTunes, and all the people who have given us 5 stars on there. It really helps the podcast. And yeah.
Well, all right. We've got a lot to cover this time around. So let's get on into it. If you're watching along at home and do not want any spoilers, which, spoiler alert, we have spoilers, hit that pause button and watch Walker Season 7, Episode 17, LIVEGIRLS.NOW, and come on back to us if you dare. All right, let's dig in. This episode originally aired in the lovely time of February 27th, 1999. And it opens on a little bit of a little sting operation. We get to see some Walker and Trevette banter right off the bat here.
Yeah, and I got to say, this episode really took off in an awesome way.
Yeah, we're right off the bat. We're in the bad part of town, right? We're on the wrong side of the tracks. some shady stuff going down. There's a chopper. We get a CI. You know.
Yeah, there's like an informant.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Trevette and Walker are in their badass Dodge Ram, and their informant Shelby's kind of like, "Oh yeah, well, you know, do you want me to stick around here or what, or can I jet? You know, I set up my supposed drug lord for you to bust here. You know, he's coming in on his helicopter, and there are all these, you know, police guys waiting for him incognito. You don't need me to wait around, right?" And Walker's like, no, you're sticking around until we get this guy, right?
Indeed, but he kind of slinks off.
Well, no, I think what happens is Walker goes, no, Shelby, you got to stay. Just get out of sight. So it's like, you can stay, but leave.
Yeah, just stay close.
Yeah. we've got more jokes about wristwatches here, so.
Oh my gosh, get into that.
Yeah, that is the running, or dare I say, not running joke in this episode, where Trevette's got this watch that's got all these doohickeys and everything, but it can do everything except foretell the time accurately.
Oh, it's so hilarious. That is good. But it's a digital watch, and Walker doesn't like anything with computers and it's digital. He's all metaphysical and spiritual and boots to the face. Except
for his European wristwatch, I'm sure. So yeah, anyways, Walker's like, what are all those things anyways? And Trevette's like, well, it's got an altimeter. And Walker's like, when are you going to be skydiving? And Trevette says, with you never know.
Burn.
And he's not wrong.
He's not wrong, because Chuck Norris definitely dives from a hot air balloon to another, and that altimeter would be really handy.
Could have been. So yeah, anyways, this bust is about to go down, and we see Shelby get out of sight, and he pulls out his sick flip phone. Really, and by flip phone, we mean brick with a little flap that flips down. And he punches in the phone number for the drug lord that's about to come in, and he snitches.
Yeah, he's like, the guy's in the helicopter. He picks up his phone, and Shelby's like, yeah, look, there's cops on the ground. You want to abort mission. So drug lord turns the helicopter off, and Walker and Trevette are in the truck like, dude, I wonder how that happened. And they're like, oh, Shelby, where is he? He must have told him off.
Well, we'll find him later. Let's go make this bust. So they bust in, and in typical fashion, and this is really when I mean, when we rolled this episode, and it was a while ago, but when we rolled this episode, we were like, season 7, it might be the season where it really hits its stride.
Yep.
And this thing starts firing on all cylinders and all barrels, we'll say.
Yeah.
And basically, it's a Texas Ranger bust where you kick the door and shout Texas Rangers, and then everyone starts shooting at each other.
Right. And in the immediate establishing shot has a bunch of rows of like crappy shelving that are going to get pushed over like dominoes. And they even use that in the pilot episode of the reboot of them knocking over shelves.
That's true. That was a callback. I was pretty impressed, but I'm curious what your thoughts are on the sound effects during this gunfight.
Yeah, I got pretty fired up when I watched this today. It was great. I loved it.
It was like when you beat a boss in like a Japanese video game, and they're like, oh, yeah, and it's like as they're falling over. That was basically every bad guy that got shot. It was like slow mo. They'd like one of the guys like got like blasted into one of those shelving units, and then it like sparks were shooting everywhere. And they're like, well, we got to add some electrical sound effects, but also an explosion sound effect, but also like this guy's falling down has been shot, so we should add like a groan as well. And all those things are happening at once. Amazing. And I think they even put like a red filter on it too. Amazing.
Yeah, and in the fight, it cross-cut between Walker just hammering people with his foot, and then Clarence Gilliard's Trevette just also busting people with his fists.
Wailing on people.
Yeah, and it was like just rapid fire, like psh, 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 and then kicking the guy in the face, and then like the swoosh kick, you get 2 sound effects for every impact. You know what I mean? It was like, well, is that 1 kick or 2? They showed it twice, but it was from a different angle. You know,
we've covered this before. If it's shown, it counts.
Yeah.
That's for the record here for the statisticians.
Them's
and if
the
this is
rules.
your first time listening to the podcast, Evan meticulously takes these down. Number of roundhouse kicks, fights, explosions, and car chases in every episode, all sortable at roundhouseroulette.com.
Yeah. So this just let it be known, this episode is definitely one to check out if you're into the roundhouse kicks. Quite a few here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Anyways, the bust is over, and honestly, like, I hope I'm never in a gunfight, but I would think the last thing you do when you're in like a gunfight involving like dozens of people is to just get in a fist fight in the middle of it, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't you want to like
a
stay
good
behind
idea.
something?
Yeah, I would think so.
Not like, hey, there are bullets flying everywhere. Let's engage in hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah.
Unless the show's named after you, then you're good.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, So, anyways, all the bad guys are either, well, let's face it, all the bad guys are probably dead. And, Walker and Trevette, they find these boxes and they've got these Mexican statues in them, and they crack one open. It's a reproduction statue, and it's got drugs on the inside.
Yeah.
Cocaine?
Cocaine.
The cops in the background are like thinking of all the mountains of paperwork they have to go through, but we've established this before. Texas Rangers don't have to do paperwork. It's amazing.
Yeah, they're like mountain of paperwork or mountain of cocaine. Which one should we go through first?
Right. Like, I just killed like 10 people today and then like knocked out 40 people. So no paperwork. It's all good.
Yeah.
So, they get back to the Ranger headquarters, and Trevette's like, well, I guess I better run a scan on what these statues really are. And, if you're watching like CSI from like the mid 2000s, that might be like a scan through a database, or, if you're watching a TV show now where someone's like, oh, I got to run a scan on that, they might do like an image search for something. This is a literal scan. So we watched Trevette place a photograph, okay, not even a 5x7, a 4x6 photograph on a household scanning.
Flatbed scanner.
The flatbed scanner, and he scans it into his stick desktop. It even has a little thing blinking on it saying scanning, and then the photo loads, and you're like, yep, that looks like what you put in there. So Trevette's like, oh, I'm going to check out the image on this website, and out of nowhere, Trevette's projection screen desktop monitor starts blowing up with some pixelated images that are a bit racy, wouldn't you say?
Got me a little fired up, not gonna lie.
Booted up the old modem.
Yeah.
How would you describe these pages?
I mean, it looked like, stock photos of a model.com, right?
Yeah. It looked like
female model.
Yeah. But also like, if you go to like a pet shelter website, right? Like on the right, there's like some information, and then some like really terrible photos on the left.
All the text on these pages were like encoded, like, so you had to have some like cryptogram in order to decode the text. So it was nonsensical. You would just see the image with a bunch of random letters.
Yeah. Well, if you looked at any of we'll get into this later. No.
Yeah. And we might as well get in this right now. It's like the name of the episode is LIVEGIRLS.NOW. And that's not the website he went to.
Yeah, I believe he went to models.art.
Yeah, it would be like, oh, he was kind of like this. He's like, oh, Walker, I was actually typing in Modelo.com, but I got sexybabes.com by accident. And Walker, totally by accident. I don't know what happened. And then Walker's like, well, let me take a look.
Yeah,
Right?
and they're all
Didn't he?
just
Did
like
he?
staring there. It's like scrolling through these like women in lingerie or whatever. And Trevette's like, oh, I must have typed the website in wrong. And Walker goes, well, type it in right. But I initially interpreted it as like, oh, Walker said like, oh, you typed the right one in.
Me too. Yeah, it sounded like, oh
and
no,
then
it
I
looks
was
like you got it right.
No, he was scolding him.
But then he came over and was like, yeah, let's go to the next page.
Yeah. And Trevette's interpretation of that was, it must be some sort of like online beauty contest.
Sure.
And that was it. Pan to into the studio with one of these models in real time, IRL, right?
We're assuming it's the same. I mean, we don't know. It's just a photo shoot we're flashed into, and this guy's like, "Oh man, yeah, that's hot, And he's taking photos, and there's a woman in front of a white background, just doing sexy poses. Yeah, I mean, it just seemed like a totally natural photo shoot. Like every sexy photo shoot I've done has been like that.
Yeah.
Now, has that music been playing?
Yeah. Did you get that?
Well, you're
going places. You're going places. All right.
I usually have the life of a child playing when I do the photo shoot.
Okay, well, actually, can we do a record scratch? Can we do a record scratch and wheel back to initially when that website popped up on Trevette's computer? Because when they're viewing it and Walker's looking over Trevette's shoulder, there's the weirdest music playing.
Yeah.
It's like random little record scratches and like hip hop drum hits. And that's about it.
Mm.
Right, Bob?
Mm-hmm.
You pick up on that?
Yeah, it was something else.
It was weird.
All right.
Like,
so what's all right. So while this woman's getting the photo shoot though, how's the song go? How's it go?
You're going places.
Yeah, it's literally she just keeps saying you're going places. It's good.
Well, anyways,
this is very true. This woman is very foreboding
somewhere.
Yeah. So as soon as the photo shoot wraps up, this woman is going places in the form of going to her car and then getting kidnapped by a creepy stalker van, and that's it. That's the end of the episode.
And that's it.
And the music. Did they have the gall to play the music again there? I don't think so, but.
They did play the music later on.
If it were season 9, they would though.
Yeah.
You're going places into the van. Going places. You're going places. You're going to a kidnap den. You're going places in this sketchy van.
Go to Saudi Arabia.
All right. So the poor girl got, photographed, whatever. And Trevette, he's got on boner patrol there looking at this screen. And Walker's like, enough. Just turn this off and get back to work, Trevette,
This is a government computer, Trevette.
Or it was a government computer. Trevette's going places. You're going places.
So anyway, so this woman gets kidnapped, and then it cuts to the titles, the credits, right? So the credits start, and we come back, and we're at CDs where there's a bit of a game of darts going on, and obviously,
not much
Walker,
of one, but
yeah, I mean. We know that Walker's super good at throwing projectiles at distance, right? I mean, we've seen him grab a throwing dagger in midair and throw it back at the person who threw it at him with pinpoint accuracy. So, I mean, darts, that's nothing, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So CD's playing Walker in darts, and Walker is bullseyeing everyone he throws.
He's Robin Hooding it.
I've never seen anybody split a dart.
Particularly with a digital dartboard.
Yeah, one of those weird ones. Well, you haven't played darts with Chuck Norris, so.
I guess not. Yeah, CD's like, you mind playing with your left hand, boy? And And Walker's like, this is my show, right?
Yeah, and then he hits a bullseye. Of course,
he does another one.
He's an ambidextrous darter. Meanwhile, Alex is hanging out with Trevette and Trevette's girlfriend, who's a model. Wait, but this episode's about models.
I bet she's going places.
But she'll be okay, though, right?
She's not going anywhere.
So they're like checking out her headshots and giving Trevette the DL on what a model does and doesn't do, that kind of thing. What makes a good headshot, right? Like, you're not supposed to smile, you're supposed to look edgy, right? Or pouty. That's important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Trevette's like, what's the line between porn and modeling?
For the record, I was on LiveGirls.net today. Yeah. It was for work, but I made a mistake.
This
is a classic. Walker episode where the credits are still rolling, and we've already we've seen enough of these episodes. We know where this is going, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's like, "Oh, I've got a photo shoot tonight," and Trevette's like, "Oh, but we had a date," and she's like, "Well, I forgot to tell you about this, but you can come hang out at the photo shoot." And he's like, "Okay, I'll come after our sting operation."
Yeah, because usually those are really tidy. Like, there's totally open-ended with nothing to do. It's like, yeah, we'll have the sting operation done in an hour's time.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he doesn't know because his watch doesn't work.
Oh,
that's
burn.
right. That's true.
Yeah.
Right.
It's tough.
And we find that out during the sting, where Walker and Trevette, they fill in on another session here, and Trevette's got a new watch, but it's running a few minutes fast, right? Or slow? I don't know.
It's always running slow. He's always going to be late.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're unfortunately going to make it that way, yeah.
Yeah. But they're waiting for Shelby to show up at his house, and Shelby's sneaking around, and they grab him right as he's crawling through a window.
Yeah, they're staked
Shelby's
out there trying to pick up Shelby, who tipped off the bad guy earlier in the episode. And they're like, well, we'll just wait around his house to get this guy because, dude, he tipped off the drug lord and we didn't get him because of this weasel snitch that turned on us. So they're waiting outside there.
So he tries to crawl through a window and they grab him by the pants. And then they shake him down. They're like, well, you've got to have, and the drug lord's name is Cole. They're like, you got to have Cole's phone number. And he's like, no, I don't. And they find his notebook and it has TC in there. And they're like, yeah, those are his initials. So they call the number. And I think we need a new hashtag here, right?
Oh, didn't you call this kind of, before you had something called Walker Talkie, which is when Walker literally...
okay, never mind. All right, you're right. This is a Walker
kind of
Talkie.
close.
It is a walkie.
Yeah.
But it's on a phone as opposed to an actual walkie-talkie.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I was going to call this the phone shakedown. So there's usually a portion in the episode where Walker goes and sees a bad guy. He's like, he might beat up a thug or two and then be like, look, I know you're doing bad stuff. I'm going to get you. And that's it.
Yeah.
And then he'll walk away. That's the shakedown, right?
Yeah.
So this is like a phone shakedown. And the guy's like, who is this? And he's like, Walker, Texas Ranger. I'm going to get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was so good. It was so good and so cheesy. But he, yeah, it's like, this is around the time when cell phones are like, oh, yeah, cell phones are hitting. So, he's adapting to cell phones.
Just like he's adapting to the World Wide Web.
No doubt.
Epic. Epic. So now Shelby's like, well, now he knows that you got his mobile number from me. He's going to kill me now. And they're like, not if you help us take him out. And he's between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
I would say, though, at this point, Shelby's already ratted him out, right? He was the informant to rat him out, but then he got cold feet the first time. This is him just doing it a second time, right?
Yeah.
Right. He should have been a dead man anyway.
Yeah. Anyways, so then we see the photo shoot, and this is a photo shoot of Trevette's girlfriend, Kristen.
Right. And the skeezy photographer's like, make it sexy. And he's like, do you need to have that necklace that's a crucifix out, or can we hide it? Can you turn it around so it just looks like a gold chain?
She's like, I never take this off, even when I shower. It's a gift from my father. It's like,
well, that's not going to come into play. Yeah, that's not going to come into play later.
Yeah.
And Trevette comes in and he's like, he walks in when the guy's like, yeah, make it real sexy like. And Trevette's like, oh, okay. Yeah, do that. And he kind of watches the end of the shoot, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And then he's walking her to her car, and there's a van of people. It's the same van that picked up the last girl.
Right.
And they call another number with their cell phone. They're like, wait. There's a guy with her. And the other guy's like, don't risk it. It's not worth it. And they're like, but it's one guy. And they're like, don't risk it. And it's a good move because,
smart.
Trevette could take you out, right? So,
well, yeah, from the beginning of the episode, he definitely took out or killed people earlier in the episode. So
he's not playing around. So
his girlfriend is not going places, right?
No, she isn't. But they're like, oh, we'll get her later. Which, I mean, begs the question, like, why wouldn't they do that every time if they've got what? Well, anyways, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like they're like, oh, we'll just go to her house and kidnap her. Yeah, it's like, wait a minute. Why would you want to tie it to the place where you're getting the leads? Like the actual place where these girls are getting photographed. Oh, they were all kidnapped right outside the photography studio.
Right. All of their cars are still parked on the street there. Yeah. But this draws us to the point that this is clearly some sort of orchestrated scheme. It's not a one-time thing. And not only that, there's like a lead guy who's in charge of the whole operation, calling shots, right?
Yeah.
So we get to see Shelby help out with the bust of Cole. So we see Shelby like being shaken down by Cole's guys, and Cole, and he's like, man, how did you get the phone? And Shelby's like, look, man, they just got the number from my notebook, but they don't know anything else. They don't know where you got the drugs. And he's like, oh, I moved the drugs. You don't know where the drugs are.
Doesn't he say, I moved them to the quarry?
Yeah.
He says something like that. Right. You don't know where they are. I moved them. I moved them to the quarry.
To this location.
Yep.
Okay, they're there.
So Walker and Trevette bust in, and there's another fight showdown, and they take out the drug lord, and he's like, oh, you'll never get anything on me. And they're like, oh, actually, we had this really crappy tape recorder on top of the fridge the entire time, so you walked right into that one.
Sucker.
Man, Shelby he screwed him twice.
Yep, pretty much. And, Shelby came away laughing, right?
Do you think Shelby got jail time?
I don't know. Probably not.
You probably get let out in a technicality like everyone else.
Yeah, that's true. That's how it works down there. So Trevette goes to celebrate at Kristen's apartment, but doors open, Again, like, we've seen this many times on the show where like a place has been broken into, and the first indication that anyone has it's been broken into is that the door's just left ajar.
Yeah.
If it's a group of guys going in to kidnap someone, close the door on your way out,
That's all you have to do. It'll save you some time.
Kidnapping 101, Evan, that's kind of creeping me out that you know this, but
I don't know. This is just observational from, all these Walker episodes where people get kidnapped. And it happens all the time to old friends, right? Or significant others in Trevette's part. In Trevette's case. So anyway, she's missing and her door's ajar, and not only that, on the floor he finds the gold cross. And for the intrepid watcher of this who wasn't asleep during the part where the fight wasn't happening, you might remember, she said she never takes it off because it was a gift from her father. But if you didn't recall that, we got to hear a little
oh, right, yeah,
a little reminiscing audio of her saying, it's a gift from my father, I never take it off. So we're reminded that she would never leave that on the floor.
It's like if you missed the last commercial break, they replayed a piece of the last commercial break, thing from the last break.
Right. Like if you're getting your Salisbury steak out of the microwave and missed that, here's your second chance.
Oh yeah, her dad gave that to her. She She would never take that off, so she's probably kidnapped. I get it. Yeah.
Something must be wrong. Yeah. Something must be wrong.
Oh, I gotta go back. This isn't cooked enough. I gotta go heat this up. This Salisbury steak's still cold.
My mashed potatoes.
Hungry man dinner.
My hungry man. My hungry man dinner.
Hungry man. Oh God.
I want to get one of those. I kind of just want to do it for fun.
Dude, you look at the sodium in those things is like 5 days worth of sodium. it's like, what will people eat? Oh, people eat salty stuff. Let's just pour salt in it.
Here it is. The Hungry Man Salisbury steak.
Nutrition facts. Let's see what I'm.
590 calories, 10 grams of saturated fat, and 1,630 milligrams of sodium.
Is there a percentage on that? Like, what is that? What is that
71% DV. I have no idea what this stuff means.
71% of your daily value.
That's like drinking that's like drinking a quarter of a cup of soy sauce.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
Ocean water.
Yeah. Should I go to the top rated Walmart review on this while we're here?
Definitely. Yeah, I love reviews.
Let me guess. Salty.
July 18th, 2023. Better than you might think.
Oh.
Even better than before. So they've tried it before.
Okay.
Lots.
Yeah. The next generation.
Yeah.
Version 2.0.
Lots of gravy.
Okay.
Swanson has perfected this dish over decades of making this. Better than ever. Their meals really are good quality and still a good solid value as well until you eat it.
That's how it ends?
I added.
Oh, you added. Okay. I was really hoping that was on the review. Okay.
Anyways, okay. We've certainly gone down a rabbit hole. There have been no references to Hungry Man, and this podcast is in no way sponsored by Hungry Man. But if Hungry Man wants to sponsor the podcast, we are not above that.
Yeah.
I mean, we will eat one, or Evan will eat one. We'll leave it at that on the podcast. All right. So anyway, back to the episode. They assume
I don't even know where we are.
They assume people.
Okay.
They assume people were lost, so they repeated like, "Oh, if her necklace is there, she's probably kidnapped because she would never take the necklace off." Let's replay the scene from like 2 minutes ago.
Mm-hmm. So here's probably the strangest scene in the episode, and there are several, but the strangest one is it seems like needlessly Trevette finding Walker at the gym.
No, that wasn't needless. It wasn't there for a reason.
Was he on a total gym? Okay, never mind then. My bad. Totally missed that. So yeah, he goes to find Walker, and Walker's at the gym, and Walker's just like, "Oh, I've got an idea."
Walker's working out on his total gym that he's been pimping with Christy Brinkley on TV around that same period. So they're like, well, we got to get it into at least one episode. So we got to add this scene.
So speaking of Hungry Man, product placement for sure. And Walker's like, oh, yeah, okay, so your girlfriend's missing. I have an idea. Why don't you meet me at Ranger headquarters? He doesn't give him any other information. No inclination as to what it is or what his hunch is. He's just like, okay, well, I'm going to shower, change, and drive there. Why don't you drive there now and just sit there for 30 minutes?
They could have had the whole scene in the ranger station and cut out that whole scene entirely.
Yep, completely. So Walker's idea is, why don't you punch up that website you had like the other day?
No.
It wasn't even the other day. That's what this show is so ridiculous. It's like, okay, there's a topical problem that's going on. We're going to get involved in it, and we're going to get involved in it immediately. Like there's no lag time. There's nothing else. It's like, okay, this person got kidnapped today. Your girlfriend's getting kidnapped tomorrow. Like there's no delay.
No, the show is 45 minutes, Evan. So it's got to be fast, and you can't judge them on it.
But like, what if they just worked out with the total gym for a day? Could there be a day between this happening? Instead of them like, oh, well, I stumbled upon this website accidentally the same day my girlfriend was kidnapped.
I don't know. I mean, Luke Skywalker just wandered into Obi-Wan's hut the day he needed to. I don't know.
I guess it's just fate. I guess it's fate. So Walker's like, oh man, okay, so you got to check out this website again. And Trevette's like, wait, like really? And they're like, yeah, this is for work this time around. And so they log on to models.art, and lo and behold, Trevette's girlfriend pops up on there.
Yeah.
And they're like, what is going on? Very strange. And they're like, well, Trevette's like, I got to crack this code. I got to find her. Right?
Yeah, all the text on the website is like hieroglyphics, or probably more like wingdings. I don't know. Like, what would you say that text is? He's able to crack it eventually, but
yeah,
to the
so
viewer,
that's the thing about this code. It's like, it's not really a code, right? It's like, it looks like someone. I mean, there are a couple like random
characters,
characters in there, right? That are just like wingdings or something.
Yeah.
But then all the letters are next to each other on the keyboard.
Right.
So it's like someone was just slamming their hands on the keyboard just to fill in the space. Now, to be fair, again, they weren't expecting anyone to be able to hit the pause button, let alone see this in high def. And we can do both of those things now.
Mm-hmm.
So, to be fair, that was a detail that didn't need to really be fleshed out, but it seems pretty obvious they were just sort of making it up there.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we flip over and we actually get to see where the models are all being sequestered. And they're in like this hangar, right? And there's like a glass window looking in on this room. It's got like a few beds and a table or whatever. And like maybe a half a dozen models that are in there. They've all been kidnapped. And these guys are all like behind this, one-way mirror. And they're like, oh yeah, the prince is really going to love that one. Yeah, the prince. Yeah, he's going to like that. I'm like, okay, so they're being sold. This went from weird to weirder.
Yeah.
And
wait, did they say the prince or prince?
The prince.
The prince. Let's not slander. Let's not.
Thank God.
Yeah.
He wouldn't. Yeah.
No.
Prince doesn't need to buy his women, right?
At this point in time in the late 90s, he might have been that symbol too. So.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, he's off the hook.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could have. He was a wingding. He was going by a wingding.
It's a wingding.
Yep. So it becomes pretty obvious there's going to be some sort of live auction for the women that's taking place the following day. So obviously they set the timeline in motion, and Walker and Trevette, they got to get this figured out ASAP, right?
Well, the episode is Live Girls Now.
And then, they added that little detail to make it really urgent. So Trevette is back at Ranger headquarters, and he finds all the women on the website, the models.art website, and they've all been listed as missing. And he's like, Kristen was at this photographer's place, and you should check that out. And Walker's like, oh yeah, I'll go shake that guy down. And Trevette's like, okay, I'm going to keep working on this code. I got to crack the code. And, I don't know anything about coding or hacking or anything.
You don't?
Can anyone?
Okay.
Okay. All I know about that, I've learned from Walker. So I need someone to weigh in who's got a little more experience in that. Were the early days of code, like cracking codes or hacking things, like decryption codes, were they just like an Ovaltine decoder ring? Because that's all this is.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So I need to figure out what this one is and this one is. Anyways, Trevette's, he's really plugging away on that, and Walker's like, okay, I'll go shake this guy down. Meanwhile, Kristen is and the other models are getting delivered turkey sandwiches from Iverson, who's laying on the creep factor pretty thick, right?
He's like, yeah, here's some turkey sandwiches for you ladies. Why don't you gobble them on up?
Yeah, you got to keep up your strength. The prince really likes his women feisty.
Wow,
ridiculous. So he's a real creeper.
Sandwiches look legit though.
They're looking pretty good on the little French bread there. You into that?
I was kind of I kind of could go for one of those right now.
Okay. Walker goes and shakes down the photographer. Of course, the large, burly photographer's assistant that we knew from the get-go was going to end up fighting with Walker, tries to take on Walker, but, Walker gets a jump on him, gives him a little kick to the ground.
Kicked him right in the chest, didn't he?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like,
instant heart attack.
Yeah. And, Walker's seen enough creepy photographers to know the best way to really get to them and to get them to talk to you is to bust in on them when they're developing their film. Because again, for those listeners out there, just like the internet used to be a weird, technologically deficient and somewhat innocent place, but also a place where some creepers could operate with impunity, so was the world of developing your own film.
Mm-hmm. You had your own darkroom, didn't you, Evan?
I did not. No.
Okay. All right.
I think our dad did though.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. So yeah, photo developing was definitely part of the hobby of photography. Now you can just you don't even need a camera, you just use your phone, obviously. But and then you do all your sort of your adjustments to the photos after the fact, right? You can put your filters on or
in
whatever.
Lightroom or Instagram filters, yeah.
Right.
But you wouldn't know about that because you don't follow the Tennessee Warblers on Instagram, Evan. I mean, how Evan, how am I going to get famous? How am I going to get famous as a musician if my own brother thinks I suck?
I don't think I really help with the algorithm. I think I'm a black hole when it comes to the algorithm.
Okay. All right.
You don't want me attached to you.
I've been thinking about this since he brought it up here earlier in the podcast, and man, my own brother, man. Fredo.
Oh, it's tough.
Well, I'm still on the podcast, so there's that.
Okay. Send you on a little trip.
Okay. So yeah, the photographer claims ignorance and all these things, even though all of the women that he's photographed recently have been kidnapped. So it seems like he's probably in on this.
It's a total coincidence, Walker.
Yeah. Their cars are all parked on my street.
Yeah.
I always throw my paperwork with their address on the back doorstep after every photo shoot.
Yeah.
So they're there and they're back at Ranger headquarters, and Walker checks in with Trevette, and Trevette's like, "Oh, well, I'm trying to figure this out. Like, there's this number underneath Kristen's name," and it ends up they're like they figure out that it's basically like her height,
her measurements. Yeah,
and they're like, "What's this? What are the last numbers? 275000." And they're like, $275,000.
The price.
And they realize it's an auction.
Yeah.
For LiveGirls.NOW.
LiveGirls.NOW.
Yeah. And they're like, okay, we got to shake down Rolf. Let's get the deets out of him immediately.
Did you guys think those measurements were legit?
When they read them off, I couldn't tell you which ones correspond to which part of the body, so I don't know. Did you do any research on the matter, or do you have any thoughts?
I've been talking to some consultants about it, but yeah, I don't want to get canceled, so let's not talk about this anymore.
Trevette he very quickly jumped to that, so he clearly was pretty clued in on that.
He's like, "Oh, those are her exact measurements."
He's like,
"That's got to be her
measurements. Those are her measurements.
Got to be her. Got to be her." In fact,
I measured her just yesterday.
Oh my god. Yeah, if it was an inch off, she wouldn't fit on my shelf.
Jeez. So anyways, this interrogation of Rolf is handled by Walker and Alex, and they basically just browbeat him into giving them information, right? And he's like, well, shouldn't I call like a lawyer or something? And they're like, well, you can, but any deal we've given you at this moment is off the table if your lawyer comes, which I'm not really sure is like legally moral, right?
No, but it's legal to lie. You can act if you're a cop, or you can lie to them about stuff like that.
Well, they may have been lying.
Oh, for sure.
Regardless, they're like, well, we're gonna go talk to your assistant, and he's looking pretty nervous. He's probably gonna tell something, and he's got this, assaulting a police officer on his record, and we could drop that in exchange for him giving us the information. You should think about it. And this is the first time I've ever heard them acknowledge the fact that someone has assaulted a Texas Ranger. It's like part of the Texas Ranger Code of Honor that you don't charge people for assaulting you. It's fair game,
I guess.
I mean,
based on what we've seen
that before.
Well, the photographer didn't really assault Walker.
But they're talking about the assistant and how they could use the fact that he assaulted Walker.
He said assaulted a peace officer too. I liked how he said that too. It's a peace officer, it's not a police officer. It's a peace officer.
Yeah, that's the biggest lie right there.
Yeah. A piece of roundhouse to the face.
Oh,
oh man.
Well, they're just using it as a bargaining chip, Evan. They wouldn't do it. So.
Yeah. Anyway, so he gets the code to the auction, and Walker's like, "Give us the code to the auction, or else you'll be sorry." And it's like, okay, even if this guy knew that what he was doing was part of all this stuff, he'd have to be really clued in to get the code to the auction. And this guy's a photographer. He's not making any money. He's probably doing this to make more money. So he's not going to be bidding on anyone.
Right.
Why would he have the code to the auction?
Yeah. One of my favorite lines, though, before we even got to this, was when they're looking at the computer and they're figuring out they're decoding the website. Walker goes, "Is someone running a sex slavery ring on the internet?"
The way he says it is so
my
good.
God, it can be done on the internet.
Yeah, because usually this stuff is just done,
Yeah, usually do this in person, right? I mean, or through some sort
it's usually the want advertiser.
Yeah, there's some scenes or something. I don't know.
I mean, there's a simpler time, right?
It's a lawnmower 33 by 12 by 16. Really fun. All gassed up.
So anyways, Trevette's locked in, and they use the code, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to enter the bidding war as this wealthy Korean magnate or whatever." And
what's his handle? Is it called the Korean or something like that? What's his handle?
Mr. Kim.
Oh, okay. Mr. Kim. All right.
Yeah, he's Kim Park.
But the bad guys call him, the Korean, right?
Yeah.
God.
And so he enters the bidding, and it's just like total cheese factor. So like the bad guys, they've got their computer guy. Their computer guy's name is Styles. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And Styles is handling the the bids that are coming in. And in order to detect the bids that come in, he has to smash the keyboard with his hands a bunch of times in order for that to happen. And then when Trevette wants to put a bid in, he's got to smash the keyboard a bunch of times to make that happen. So, and there's an appreciable delay as well between it all. Trevette will put in like a bid, and it would take a minute or two his bid to come in. Could have had to go across the wires,
Well, yeah. I mean, there were not a lot of satellites going on.
No way. So Trevette ends up winning the bid on his girlfriend, and they're all like, "Oh, thank goodness!" They're like, Alex is there, and she's like, "Oh, thankfully, it's like we saved her." But did they?
Well, they did until.
Yeah, as soon as the transfer starts, Trevette tries to attach a trace to it, but Styles is way more advanced than Trevette, so they pick up on the trace immediately, and they're like, "Oh no, the cops are onto us! Scramble!" So, anyways, the auctioneers, they basically pack up all their stuff. They get everyone in the cars, and they're like, "Oh well, we'll take them to the airport. Call the prince. He'll probably want to buy them at a discounted rate, since we're not bidding, and we got to get rid of them quick. So,
right.
You should probably give him a call." And so I guess they make those arrangements.
Yeah, the police are on to us, so let's meet with our end client and just get caught.
Yeah, easily. So we didn't address another point where there's another scene where the sort of the grunt of the group, Iverson, he comes back in to clean up after the turkey sandwiches, and he's like, "Oh, a woman's work, never done."
Oh,
like a
jeez.
total creeper.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "You're not hungry? Well, I know what'll build up your appetite."
Ugh.
And he starts getting real pervy. And then
Trevette's girlfriend just knocks
Trevette's
him over the head
girlfriend-
with a turkey sandwich.
yeah. And then the head guy comes in and dispatches him with a quick kick to the gut.
Yeah. Got him
And
good.
establishes like, oh, this guy's got ninja skills.
Right.
Like,
And
he
the
got
first thing
picked
I
off.
thought was like, oh, this guy, they're doing that so we know that Walker can fight him and it'll track that he has karate. But they never do that before. People just know karate. Why are they trying to needle that now?
It's true. We need to build up the anticipation, right? But then they're gonna punish Iverson, and they get up this giant like cleaver knife, and they're gonna like cut his hand off.
Oh yeah.
That was brutal. That
I
was
thought they
actually a brutal
were
scene.
going to. Yeah, that was
Or it's like,
pretty
what
intense.
why is this in the episode?
Well,
Like,
he was trying to sample the product, i.e., Trevette's girlfriend's friend. That's weird, man. So yeah, he deserved to get more than his hand cut off.
he did, but
Mhm.
it also was just like very odd to include that one. That one didn't make it to the cutting room floor.
Well, it just showed the people they were hard, man. This is a hard
Yeah.
crew.
Yeah.
And so they they slice this meat cleaver down, and it looks like he chopped his hand off, and then the shot changes, and they just missed. And they're like, "Next time it'll be your arm."
No. Next time I'm gonna cut out your heart, I think he said.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah. Don't get it wrong. The Rangers show up, but they're late, and everything's been scrambled. All that's left behind is the mainframe, the computers, right? And then they're like, "Wait, bomb!" And it's like, you know what? That's the one thing this episode has lacked is gratuitous explosions. So,
And this is a good one.
fortunately, the bad guys left behind a bomb, and Trevette, Walker, they run out of the hangar just in time for it to blow up. And that answers the question: why were they keeping the women in a creepy old storage hangar that looked run down? And it was so they could blow it up.
Yep. It was a good looking explosion too.
Yeah, that looked like one of those ones they talked about where the stunt people just
Someone
barely
got hurt.
out of the way.
Someone got hurt there. Yeah,
Maybe.
because there was that one shot of them like running away as the explosion happened behind them. You know.
Yeah, it was very close.
A little dicey.
It
Yeah.
looked very dangerous.
But I was like, oh, check, explosion, sweet. No
Yep.
car chases yet. Are we going to get that? I don't know. We'll see.
Mm. So yeah, and Trevette's all like, "Man, that was too close. Man, I can't wait to get my hands on that guy." And Walker's all like, "I prefer my feet."
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
a line!
That was good. That was good.
Not one you typically get from Walker.
He's got a foot fetish.
Gross,
Yeah, he
dude.
does.
Gross.
Yep.
He said it. He likes to roundhouse kick people.
So they decide to go back into the hangar that just blew up and look for clues. And they look down, they find a telephone that's remarkably intact, even though it was probably right next to the bomb. And it still has its phone number, like the phone number for that actual phone on it,
Yeah, classic.
which again,
Sign of the times.
This is really dating this episode.
and Walker's like, "Why don't you call your friend at the phone company and see who that number last called?" And apparently it was the airport, because the Rangers scrambled to the airport just in time to bust up not the prince but his buyer from taking all the women except for the red-haired one, because that's bad luck apparently.
Yeah, I didn't
And,
like that. That whole, my people, the Irish, really took offense to that one.
The prince is there and he's surveying the women.
It's
and
not
he's
the prince. It's his
lackey.
Yeah.
Okay, but he's like, oh yeah, these are all great except this red-haired woman.
Yeah, red hair
That's
is
bad
bad
luck.
luck. Never heard that one.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's all about to go down, and then all the cops show up again, and there's an epic shootout / fight in the hangar. And I love that the cops show up, and they know that there are like half a dozen plus hostages basically in there, right? And the cops show up, and the first thing they do is just like start blasting away.
It was pretty reckless.
like, totally reckless, just let it fly.
Oh, I feel like they made a point to show all the girls running like away as they were beginning to shoot. So yeah, but yeah. Wouldn't the bad guys have taken some of them hostage and like use them as human shields? I don't know.
So another epic showdown, and were
there more shelves in that one? I think there was shelving. I don't think it got knocked down. Yeah. I was waiting for.
They were running behind and in front of shelving.
Yeah.
I was so waiting for it to go down.
There were a lot of guys like getting blasted, and then they're really like overdubbed, like
yeah.
Those things, amazing. And then it comes down to it, and Walker is facing off against the main bad guy and some other dude. And I was expecting the main bad guy to, they established he's got some ninja moves. He had nothing. That guy just got completely wrecked. And then Trevette catches up with Iverson, and it just sort of pans back and forth between Walker and Trevette fighting for like a good minute and a half, and they're just wailing on these people. So anyways, they, obviously they're triumphant, and they rescue everyone. And Kristen's just thrilled to see Trevette. And, next scene is in CD's Bar and Grill, and Trevette's returning her necklace that her dad gave her. And, being very thoughtful. And she's like, "Oh, I wanted to tell you, I don't know when she got this phone call, because, they just went through all this stuff."
Oh,
like,
right. Yeah.
My agent, he wants me to come do a photo shoot in New York. And,
the agent saw her on the news.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So, okay.
That's right.
That was her big break, was getting
you
busted.
look hot. You look hot under duress. Come to New York.
I know. Man,
come to New York and undress.
I know. You escaped this trafficking ring. You should see the trafficking rings in New York.
Oh God.
Jeez.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So she seems ready to just, jump right back onto the train and
audition tape from hell. Here.
Yeah. And Trevette's like, "Oh, that's great." And he's like, "You know what I've always told you? Don't let me stand in the way of your dreams."
And we've been dating a week, so but I told you that on the first date. So,
Yeah, of course.
You can hold me to it.
Yeah.
But can we have one last kiss first? That'll be good enough.
Yeah.
And he literally says that.
Yeah.
They kiss, and he's like, "Oh, well, that was worth it."
Yeah, that's good.
I'm good. We never have to see her again in Walker, Texas Ranger continuity.
Right. And then Walker and Alex come in, and they're like, "Oh, hey, guys." And Trevette and Kristen are like, "Oh, hey, how are you?" They're not like, "Oh, yeah, we just broke up."
Right.
And they have some stupid banter, and the episode ends.
Yeah, Walker's like, "Oh, your watch is broken. Have mine."
Yeah. Yep. There you go.
And so Trevette has Walker's watch. That is actually the most major canon shift that this episode has done.
Keep an eye on that. Put a pin in that one.
Yeah. All right. Well, that sums up this episode. We'd love to give a shout out to our friend and collaborator, Adam Lauritsen, who's responsible for all the sweet, amazing Walkerstrations you might find on our website. You can check him out on Instagram at @Imagination Run Amok. When we come back, it'll be time for us to each rate LiveGirls.NOW, the Walker Texas Ranger episode, on a scale of 0 to 10 boosts to the face, resulting in our patented Roundhouse Roulette episode ranking. Complete results of which are available on our website, roundhouseroulette.com. All right, well, before we come back, I'm going to do a little bit of birding, but see you after the break.
Man, Bob, while Evan's away, we need to do a little updating to roundhouseroulette.com.
It is the beating heart of our pod that helps us deliver the light of Walker, Texas Ranger, to the world.
No doubt. If you listeners would like to help the cast, please share the pod with a friend or leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. It truly helps other Walkerites find the podcast. Or if you're feeling frisky, join us on Patreon or pick up a vintage action figure or t-shirt. Man, what is keeping Evan? He should be back by now.
Oh, Adam, I think we have a problem. I was trying to type roundhouseroulette.com into the browser and accidentally typed LiveGirls.NOW. Man, Evan's on the front page wearing the same clothes he was a minute ago.
Weird. It looks like they're auctioning off birders to the highest bidder.
The starting bid is 25 cents. Do we have that kind of cash?
Let's hear. We just sold a vintage 1980s Chuck Norris action figure. I think we've got 25 cents. We can afford to bid on him.
Oh, thank heavens. Thank you, listeners. We'll keep you posted.
We've been outbid by Talented Slacker 666. I'm gonna have to go look for my piggy bank. Y'all better get back to the show.
Well, welcome back. I saw a lovely Nashville or a Nashville warbler and a Tennessee warbler out there. So look out.
Did you guys have turkey sandwiches?
I love them.
Okay. It's just turkeys. You just saw turkeys. All right.
Seems kind of weird to eat bird sandwiches when you're birding, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. Is there a code behind that? No chicken, no turkey sandwiches.
Be roast beef.
You know,
ham. Only ham.
My code is don't think about it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Awesome. Well, I think it's time for us to figure out what we all thought about this episode. You know, when we spun this one, we were kind of torn, right? We're like, well, the subject matter seems pretty cringe. Fortunately, they didn't put a ton of emphasis on the whole like sex trafficking ring thing, and instead just focused on ridiculous shootouts. But there was like, there's something about this episode that just I think really hits on all cylinders. Right off the bat, like I'd say if I had to give like, you know, the cold open to someone to see what Walker was all about, I think this is like perfect, right? We see banter between him and Trevette, where he's condescending to Trevette. We see a weird informant. And like right off the bat, he just roundhouse kicks a guy like 5 times. It's amazing.
Drugs hidden in sculptures.
What's the roundhouse kick count from Chuck Norris in this episode?
So this episode's got 4 fights and 8 roundhouse kicks, which is pretty close to a high, I think. So yeah, like I think this episode, aside from like the kind of gross, cringy nature of it, and that detracts a point or two for me. Other than that, it's kind of an awesome episode, and I think I am going to give this one an 8.
Oof! All right.
Wow.
I'm pretty high on it.
I know. I think I'm kind of right there with you. I was thinking 7 or 8. Like, yeah, the subject matter is not really that great. I'm going to go 7, only because there wasn't something in this episode that was so absurd that we're going to be talking about this episode again. But it was great. And it dealt with those seedy topics that you didn't necessarily need to deal with in a Walker episode. They just could have been kidnapped.
I actually had already written down 6, and I thought it was being nostalgic because it's been a while. You know, it's been a while, and
going places.
Yeah, the music,
but
I
for
think
a lot of the same,
the
music. Man,
I think this episode was fire.
I really enjoyed it. I did really enjoy it.
I still think there's so much room for improvement, but it's definitely solid. But I'm still feeling like it just wasn't over the top enough, you know. The whole plot was just kind of like, all right, well, yeah, kind of cringy, but not even just a cringe part of it. It's just kind of like, okay, well, someone got kidnapped and then they found them, you know. So that was the only thing that kind of brought me down. So yeah, I'm throwing a 6 on this one.
Okay. I mean,
cool.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only thing is like this one, we're probably not going to be talking about this one. You know what I mean? But it was a great episode in as far as Walker, you know,
it's solid, definitely solid.
Yeah, it was solid. Anyway, what's the boots to the face ranking, Evan?
Well, that gives this episode a roundhouse rating of 7 boots to the face.
Ah! Oh! Daddy!
And I think we can all agree that the world's a safer place now that people are able to take selfies.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
Wow, yeah. Didn't think of it, but yeah, right.
Yeah, but whatever you think, let us know on social media or by emailing us at roundhouse@gmail.com. When we come back, we're going to be spinning that Roundhouse Roulette wheel and selecting our next episode.
Spin that wheel, Bob.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a rip here. Hold on.
Season 8, Episode 9, Fight or Die.
I love the title. I'm not going to lie. I love that.
Fight or Die. Original air date, November 20th, 1999. Walker goes undercover in a prison where the warden stages and tapes illegal prize fights to sell on the internet.
Yes. Ooh, another little connection
man.
there.
Oh,
okay.
man.
All right.
I mean, this is going to be a pretty badass episode, I think.
Well, we hope you join us next time when we take on Season 8, Episode 9, Fight or Die. And in the meantime, share your opinions with us on Facebook and Instagram at Roundhouse Roulette and on Twitter at Roundhouse Pod. And please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, even if it's a bad review, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks so much for listening. And until next time,
may the eyes of the Ranger be upon you.
When you're in Texas, look behind you. Oh, 'cause that's where the Ranger's gonna be.